pretty short session. Basically, I covered slurmjobs a couple times for the different functions in it and stuff. Today, I'll be focusing on stuff basically things I use day to day, and then things I don't believe I've covered these in much detail before. So it'll be pretty quick, but hopefully it'll be a little useful. Start sharing. So I'm going to use this example project here. So the first thing I'll demonstrate today is like this function called renumber. So I mentioned it I shared it on Slack with some people, but I don't think I really shared it widely. And so I sort of developed it and didn't really talk about it too much. So yeah, today I'll try and cover that. So the basic idea is that we'll start with a project we sort of assume is in the sort of organization format from Leo's team, right? Where we have code, we have like a code folder here, process data, plots, and then within those we have different numbers for the order, right? We have like O1 Space Ranger, O2 build SPE, and so on. And so within that format, I mean, this has been obviously extremely useful to keep things organized. But one thing I keep running into is like in big projects where there's a lot of scripts, sometimes we want to insert different steps into the analysis. So I'll give an example in this O3 stitching directory. So this is something I had done before this slurmjobs renumber command. So you'll see the numbers of these scripts. So there's the first step we do like this prep sample info. I'm not going to go too much into like this project, but we have like O1, O2, O3, O4, and there's like this O4.5 when I basically wanted to insert a step between 4 and 5. And that works, right? You could do like 4.5, you could do 4.42 or something. But sometimes we want to rearrange scripts entirely. And that comes with a couple different things to consider. So like generally when we use the code organization, we might have an R script and a shell script to submit that R script. And then within the shell script, there's all sorts of references to if we were to simply rename these files, it would be kind of annoying to do. It's certainly possible. But like, let's say we want to renumber these scripts so that instead of 4, 4.5, 5, and so on, it's just 4, 5, 6, 7 in a linear order. So that's like the task, I guess, that this function that I'm about to show will solve. And so manually it's doable, right? But what I was about to say was like, normally we'll have like an R script, a shell script, and then within the shell script, there's references to the number and the name of the script in multiple places. So the job name, the log name, and then the R script to submit. Not only that, but the actual log file itself is something that we might want to rename if we were to really just renumber things entirely. So yeah, basically the slurmjobs functions that I'm about to show will sort of address all of these cases. So let me actually jump into show how this works. All right, so let me load. We'll do conda R 4.5, and then I have a pretty recent version of slurmjobs, so let me load that. Okay, so basically the function is renumber. So I could go into the vignette and stuff, but I think it'll be more useful to show an actual example. So I'm just going to start typing. So the renumber function first takes a directory. So let's say this is the stitching directory, so I'm going to grab the path from that. So within that, then you give it the source numbers to change. So let's say we're going to start from 4.5 and we want to renumber things from there. So here you don't have to name the entire script. You can name just a unique prefix. So in this case, we can start with 04.5. And then 5 through, let's see how to do this most efficiently. Paste 0. And then 5 through 10. So just grabbing the names of the existing scripts so far, or the unique prefix for each of them, really. And then, so we want this to be basically starting from 5. Is this big enough? Let me make it a little bigger, sorry. Just to show what I'm typing. So basically we want this to be, instead of 4.5 through 10, we want it to be 5 through 11. So I'm going to go 5 to 11 like this. Actually, that's kind of annoying. I don't want that extra 0 for the 10 and the 11. Let me just do something like that. And then I should have typed this correctly.
Do it also for the previous one.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's already inside of a scene.
Oh, it is, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you see this. I just ran it, and now we have 5 through 11, when previously we had 4.5 through 10. So, and then yeah, we can jump into one of these scripts, and why is it? Oh my gosh, it actually didn't work. This is the first time I've seen it not work. Of course, when I'm showing it. What happened here? Let me see. So the other ones worked. Okay, well, I'll show the ones that worked, and then we'll dive into maybe jump into what happened. Something I guess I have to debug. So that's not good. But so yeah, basically it renumbered things so that inside the script we have the correct script name. It's not, it used to be 05 gather and an SVG, now it's 06. Same thing, the log is correct. This it's going to replace any reference to the script inside of here, inside of the shell script. And then we can even check in process data. We can see if we go to the logs, even the logs were renumbered. So, and by the way, it can match multiple logs, right? So if you have an array job like this 07 one, it's renaming all the 07 logs or all the 06 logs to 07, even if there's many of them, which in this case there is. So, okay, I will have to I guess I probably shouldn't debug this right now. It's probably not super interesting, but looks like it's not working with maybe the decimal here is messed up.
You gotta maybe skip the decimal instead of like use the double backslash instead of using dot.
Yeah, it thinks it's a regex maybe for like matching any character somehow.
Like, can you undo it?
Undo the function? I guess not really, no.
I mean, you have version control files.
Yeah, I can, with version control, I can undo it. Theory, right? Yeah. So it replaced, you can see all the scripts it renamed. And
hey, never mind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's the renumber. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's a simple function, but I think I tend to use it a lot these days. And I guess the other thing I use a lot. So I think a lot of us use what's it called, job single. I tend to just sort of copy and paste, honestly. Like if I'll show an example. So I'm going to just create a new array job to demonstrate the next function I want to show. So sample array. Actually, let's just make it a shell script. We don't even need to. So this is getting in my way now. So honestly, instead of using job single, a lot of times I'm guilty of just copying and pasting and then replacing the names of the scripts. So I'm just going to make a quick array job that's going to run. No, I don't want that. Quick to demonstrate.
But that's because you're really familiar with the syntax from this batch and all of that.
That's true. Yeah. Job single is definitely useful if you're not familiar with all the syntax and stuff. That's true. And definitely for like the first time in a project, I would use job single. Maybe not try to dig through another project to find a script. Let's say 20 tasks. We can run all 20. Okay, and all I'm going to do in here is, instead of loading an R script, we're just going to do something very basic. So I'm going to show an example of basically a script that runs for 20 seconds. It doesn't do anything. It runs 20 tasks, and one of them is going to fail. It's going to be the 5th task. Hopefully the other ones shouldn't fail for any reason. I don't think so. Anyways, let's actually run this. So I'm going to go to the stitching directory. Let's submit this array. So basically I don't know how much I've talked about job report. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So there's 2 ways I tend to use it for array jobs. And that's what I'm doing right here, where I submit an array job, I use SQ to check if it's running. From there, you can just grab the ID. And so the idea is that like when you're running a big array with like, I don't know, 100 tasks or something, you can't really search through 100 logs. You're not going to go checking through 100 logs to see if every task succeeded, right? I mean, you could use grep and other tricks to try to find like error messages, but I think this will be more useful, and I'll show why. So let me just allow that to run. It should take no more than they're completing after 20 seconds. So there's two ways to do this. I just copy the task ID that's in front of the task and in front of the actual task number. Okay, so they're all complete, but we don't know. In theory, we're not sure which one's finished. So you can use the job report function from slurmjobs to, you just paste in the ID. It doesn't even have to be a string, it can be an integer, like this. And then I'm just going to assign that to a temporary variable. And typically what I'll actually do in practice is I'll do table of a status. Status is one of the actually, sorry, I should step back a bit. So job report returns a tibble, or a data frame with a bunch of information. So you have the job ID, the user, the name of the script, partition it was submitted to, different information like how many CPUs were requested, how much memory was requested, how much was actually used in terms of both types of, in terms of virtual memory and then actual memory. The resonant set size is what it's called, but also the exit code and how long it took in wall clock time, and then the status. So there's a lot more to, I guess I could go through this function in more detail, but honestly, I do want to just focus on the way that I use it in practice, which is this, which I just do table of a status. And we can see right away 19 jobs succeeded, one of them failed. So we can sort of query this like we would with, since it's a data frame, we can just say like, okay, let's filter to the statuses that were actually, let's say there's multiple job statuses and we just want to know the ones that are not completed. Anything else is probably problematic. And then what we can do is we can pull the array task ID. So this is basically asking like, okay, which tasks failed? I'm just gonna load tidyverse, even though it's a little overkill. So we can see that the task 5 failed. So now we can go ahead and that helps narrow it down so that you can actually check the log for task 5 and see what happened. So like all of these ones are good, but task 5, oh, I actually never gave it a message, right? I just said exit 1, which doesn't provide any information. So maybe in this case, not super useful, but normally you'd get a error message, and that's the gist of it. I mean, I don't want to go too much on stuff I've already talked about, but basically I will just quickly mention let me go to the vignette actually, just to highlight this real quick. Again, we've done a bit of this in a previous session, so I'm not going to do it too much, or not talk about it in too much detail. I'll just quickly mention that array submit function. So basically, there's a way to automatically resubmit jobs that failed with slurmjobs. So let me find where this is in the vignette. Actually, reorder is the last. So definitely, yeah. So basically, like I said, you can use this array submit job where all you have to do is give it sort of the name of the path to the scripts that you are running. You don't even have to provide task IDs. If you omit this, it actually looks through the logs, or it looks through the, actually I forget I think it pulls the job ID, analyzes it to see which one's finished, and then it automatically, basically you don't have to provide task IDs at all. If I ran this on the script I was just showing, it would submit task 5, and then that's sort of an automated way to resubmit things that fail. So that's just something to keep in mind. Did do a session on that already. That's probably all I'll say.
So this comes into play because sometimes if you're running an array job which has a lot of tasks, some of them can fail because they're all in the same compute node, and that compute node is having problems.
Yeah.
So your code was actually valid and all of that. It was just that single compute node that is having some problems. So you resubmit them to a different compute node, they'll run.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be report that you.
So that's why like the logs include like the node that you ran. And you sometimes, I mean, it's happened to a few of us where we run, let's say 1,000, 2,000, 20,000 jobs, and you'll notice that several of them are failing. As you look at what compute node they were failing, sometimes it's like the same compute node. And so then you have to report it to be support and be like, hey, this compute node is having some problems, but like your code is valid, you just need to submit it into another compute node and it will run.
Yeah, all sorts of reasons why things can fail, even if you have valid code. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that was pretty much it. I know this is a very short session, but those are the two functions I tend to use every day, but yeah.
I think that likely you mentioned because I missed a part with you were talking about renumbering.
Yeah.
Renumbering close to renumber the files inside the directory.
Mhm.
It also renames the files in the processing data and the plots directories, or that is
No, so,
another, I mean, you need to manually rename.
so the only thing it handles is, let me go back to the. It handles any, so if you give it a prefix, it matches any files that start with that prefix. So in this case, we only use the numbers. So it renamed the R in shell scripts. And then it goes into the shell scripts, renames, or it's supposed to, I need to address this bug, but generally it will rename what's inside the shell script and then it renames this log. But it doesn't do anything with plots or other forms of process data, just the log. And then,
Yeah, I was assuming that, just I want to have it clear.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's really useful, that function, I think.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nate.
Thanks, everyone.